Hello and thank you. As usual, we'll be waiting just a few minutes to let people who are on the Zoom call join in, and then we'll get started. Okay, that looks like who we've got to start with. So I call this meeting of the South Liberty School Board to order. We'll turn to our land acknowledgement. Marnie.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Brooke. South Liberty School District acknowledges that we gather on the ancestral homelands, originally known as Chakolchi in the Lushootseed language, and the territory of the Coast Salish, Swinomish, Snohomish, Tulalip, Stillaguamish, and Suquamish peoples. I invite you to read our full district land acknowledgement on our website or on tonight's board notes. I just want to take this moment to reflect on an opportunity that I'm going to look for myself to learn more about the stories of both my ancestors and the people whose ancestors have lived in this place since time immemorial. I was inspired today by watching a film called Whale Rider, made in 2003. It's a film about, it's a drama about a Maori community struggling with the lineage and the tradition and how to bring the strength of their culture forward through present day generations. And that film actually helped me remember how I want to know the stories of my ancestors, many of them from Scotland, England, and Wales, and also the stories of the people whose ancestors are from this place. So this is one way that I'm going to try and make the land acknowledgement more real in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. I always appreciate how you bring immediacy to that rather than making it a rote recitation. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
We're gonna get into public comment after a period, just to let people know if you want to make public comment, please sign up with Mrs. Macaro at the back. If you are on the Zoom call and want to make public comment, please put your name and location, general location, just Freeland, Langley, Clinton, whatever, in the Q&A function on Zoom, just that, and that'll let us know that you want to talk when the time comes. Then you can type up your comment and it will be read. Trying to get the language right. Sorry, it's been a long day. Are there any objections to approving the agenda and minutes as presented? Hearing none, the agenda and minutes as presented are approved. Are there any, I just said this. Are there any complaints or opposition to approving the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. We'll move on to presentations. We're lucky enough to have three fantastic groups here to give presentations brief and long. I'll turn it over to Dr. Moshe to introduce them.
I'm very excited that we're going to hear from our WIN partners tonight. We have some students to help them with that presentation. I'm not sure if there's an adult leading it or if we're just having our students come up. Students are coming up. So students, if you would use that microphone, you might need some help getting it and turning it on. And your presentation is to the school board. So even though there's an audience behind you, you're presenting to the school board. So thank you. Make sure you introduce yourself.
Okay, thanks. Hi, my name is Aurora, and I'm in 6th grade.
Hi, my name is also Aurora, and I'm also in 6th grade.
Hi, my name is Mason. I'm also in 6th grade.
We are here to thank Whidbey Island nurses for all the work they do for this school and community. My favorite thing that WIN does is the snack and how it helps us get through the day.
I love WIN because it helps us do culinary, and I really like cooking and garden.
I love WIN because they help us get ingredients and help us get snack for us to eat in third period.
What does WIN contribute to our school? It prepares snacks for the North and South campus.
It contributes to student lunches.
Provides ingredients for our culinary classes.
And now we're going to be showing a video how we like WIN and how we appreciate them.
Hello, my name is Olivia. And I'm Maya. We are here today to thank Whitby Island Nurses. Let's say thanks. Thank you for all the snacks that you give us. Yeah, they help with the culinary. We love to eat. Why? Why?
Our class made some thank you cards and dried flower bouquets as a thank you as well. We hope this shows how appreciative we are for all you do for us.
Please do, Barb. Come right up. It's your night. You need the mic.
So those online can hear.
My children were in school in the 70s and the 80s, and I was on a school nutrition committee. And at the time I was studying nutrition, and I was so frustrated because nobody could listen to anything that I said. Nobody cared, not even the superintendent of schools. And I thought I would never see this day. And I can't even tell you how impressed I am with what the school garden does and what we have been able to do. I've been with WIN since about 4 weeks after it started. And my week is just not a good week unless I'm in the kitchen sometime. So I just wanted to tell you that I think our school district, we should be on 60 Minutes. We should be on every TV show showing the world what could be done and how we do it. And
Thank you, Barb. So while we're waiting for 1 second so I can honor our students, I'll tell you a quick story. Barb and I went to a very, very tiny high school in the state of New York. A little bit different year. But the fact that we found each other here on Whidbey is really kind of amazing. So thank you for all that you both do. And please thank the Board of WIN on behalf of the school district, because for those who don't know, and our students were so good at presenting, WIN feeds our students over every weekend. So those packages go home for families, and our students get snack, as they said, and so on. So before you leave, I would love for Aurora and I'm just kidding. Like, and Mason to come up here, because I have a little something for you to say thank you to you for presenting to the board. So these are stainless steel water bottles. And on one side, they have the South Whidbey School District logo. And on the other, it says, "Making a difference. I presented to our South Whidbey School Board and community." Thank you. Oh, all right. Turn around. There you go. All right.
Thank you to Aurora, Mason, and Aurora for the presentation. It's always wonderful to have students here at the school board meeting because it really helps me focus on exactly why we're here, and that's for the students. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
There are people online who can't hear you otherwise.
Okay. Oh, right. Thank you. So I just want to introduce Grace.
Thank you.
In addition to thank you to the students, thank you very much to WIN for the partnership and for everything you do, not just for the school district, but for the larger community as well. It's just such a fantastic program that does so much for the community. So thank you.
We are moving on to a math presentation. I hope everyone can stay right through to the end of our meeting because we have a lot of exciting things, and I mean that sincerely. So we're going to be presenting on math and on environmental science. And the teachers and administrators do not get presents for presenting. I'm just saying.
Can we get pictures? So
Pictures
Want
for
pictures?
sure.
good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce, we have three outstanding teachers from the South Whidbey School District to give an update in our math and sciences. And maybe after each one presents, if the board has any questions or any clarification needed, please ask. The first person I would like to introduce is our 6th grade math teacher, Jennifer Giuseppe. And Jennifer is highly appreciated 7 through 12 because she is excellent at really building a great foundation for our math students 7 through 12. And we've seen great improvements since she's took that position. So I'd like to introduce Jennifer.
All right, well, thank you. When I was asked to do this, I I thought it would be best to kind of make it a little bit of what, so that you can see what the students do in class each day. 6th grade students work really hard. In our class, one of the key things we do is we take notes in our math notebooks. These notes are written under a document camera so that students can follow along for support. We discuss the notes. Sometimes we'll switch to a whiteboard, actually make the notes make sense by doing a little math and then going back and looking at where in the notes that talked about it. And then copies of the notes are available for students to glue into their notebooks if they were absent, or for any reason if they have difficulty taking notes, so that they can still participate. That's a picture of student notes. In our math class, we use the district adopted curriculum of Big Ideas. I actually use the digital platform that Big Ideas offers us. So students in 6th grade are really putting together those skills that they work on K-5. They start putting them together. They are transitioning from using a workbook, and they are starting to write their problems out on paper and show their work. So I have a sample here. We really practice what organized math looks like. And then the key part of the computerized part is they're able to put their answers into the computer and get immediate feedback so that they know if they're doing the assignment correctly or not. So we're not looking just for assignment completion. We are looking at mastery of the concepts. So they know if they did not get it right to go back to their notes, to check in with a peer for support, or if needed, seek out an adult. Again, you can see the example from the computer of one of the questions. The nice thing is it only shows them one question at a time. So students that get overload from looking at a book with too much information can focus better. It also offers a read aloud option for students if they have struggle with reading, so they can still participate in the math. The Big Ideas offers the teacher dashboard. So I can see at a glance what students have turned in their work, who's still working, who should I check in with. And the key feature here too is as we look at the average score, I am hoping to see that that's 95% or above, because again, I'm looking at mastery of the concepts with the students, not just did they do the work. So the expectation is they're turning this in at 90% or above, because if they're struggling, they're seeking that help and having the time to get that help. And then the supplement we also use in 6th grade is Khan Academy. It's free to use. It aligns with our curriculum well and the Common Core standards. This shows me at a glance where students are in certain concepts, and it lets us differentiate. So not only is it inclusive for all the students, but it offers a lot of universally designed learning, because students can self-select topics that they want to learn within the 6th grade coursework. So they're not focused to only work on what we're doing as a class, so they can extend their knowledge. It also lets me offer kind of review work for students, maybe if they scored familiar or attempted and they need to come back to this concept later because they weren't ready for it at the time. I can see who to kind of assign this to or encourage to do some additional work. And that's how we're kind of getting them ready for junior high and high school.
Oh, any questions for Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer, I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. By 6th grade, I've noticed that some students internalize a message that I'm bad at math. So when you identify those students, how do you help them like break free from that and have more like a growth mindset about their abilities?
It definitely takes, throughout the year, a constant reminder of they can do it, they can do it, they can do it. And one of the nice things is, because I'm not asking for them just to complete the work, but to complete the work at mastery, they also get immediate feedback on that, their dashboard. So as I'm working with them, they're seeing those scores of 90%, 100%. They're hearing that constant reinforcement of you are amazing and you can do this. And by the end of the year, they really like math.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, I would like to introduce David Nelson. David Nelson has been our longtime department chair for math, teaches AP stats, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calc, calc, whenever needed. He does it all. Anyways, I'd like to introduce David Nelson. Round of applause.
Okay, I wasn't sure exactly what was being asked of me, so I put together a kind of a flow chart of what we offer here at South Whidbey High School in terms of math offerings. The graduation requirement is 3 credits. You can read it here, but we offer a wide variety of math classes for as small of a school as we are. Students enter into a high school either in Algebra 1 semester only course, so that's the entire course in the one block, or they enter in an Algebra 1A, which is a math elective, and then they move on to Algebra 1B in the second semester from algebra, geometry. After students complete geometry, they have a choice, options. They can go to Modeling Our World with Mathematics. This course was developed by the state of Washington, and it is intended for juniors who have struggled with Algebra 1 and geometry and may not quite be ready for Algebra 2. So this course gives them that 3rd math credit as well as an extra opportunity to build some confidence and prepare for Algebra 2 if they choose to want to take that course. After Algebra 2, there's really a wider selection depending on the student, but the one option is Bridge to College Mathematics. This is also an OSPI course developed with community colleges from the state of Washington. And this is intended for seniors who may not be interested in the physical sciences or areas of interest where a lot of math will be used, but they want to have a 4th math credit in order to get accepted into colleges. It can also be used as a course where if they get a B or better, they can be waived from the placement test from all of the community colleges in the state. So they automatically can be placed into, I believe it's Math 107, which is Math and Society, or Math 145, which is, I think, Statistics. Pre-calc we offer, and students will take pre-calc usually in the fall, and if they're interested, they take calculus in the spring. And then we have AP Statistics as well. AP Statistics is taught in the year-long 3A, 3B format, and because of the smaller that we've gotten, I wanted to make sure that we kept that class, so it's offered every other year. So students are informed of that when they enter high school, so they can plan to take it either their junior or senior year. And so far, since doing that, I've been able to have 2 sections because the numbers have been 44 or higher. So that's allowed for 2 sections, 1 in 3A and 1 in 3B. And then our calculus class is just an introductory calculus course. It's only offered in the spring because it follows pre-calc. It's not AP, but it's a good foundation for students so that when they do go to a 4-year school, they have some confidence. We found that a lot of colleges like to do calculus a certain way, their way. And so introducing it here gives the students a foundation. We've gotten many positive feedbacks about how helpful it was to have that, even though the intention is not to replace a 1st semester calculus course from a college, but just to get them ready for it. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
I'm just curious if interest in the AP Statistics course and interest in the pre-calculus and calculus courses, from all that information, is there any indication that an additional AP math offering would serve a sufficient number of students to warrant developing something? Or do you feel like we have sufficient AP offerings in the math department for student demand?
Yeah, we've had students in the past that if they're really driven and persistent in doing that, that we can offer them an independent study. So a student who is going through pre-calc and calculus, maybe not interested in as much statistics, but wants to pursue calculus, they would have completed these their junior year, and then they do an independent study, which is sponsored by usually a math teacher, and they can work independently towards preparing for the AP exam in calculus. We don't have a large number of students that have taken that route. So I don't know if we have the demand for AP calculus, for example, at this time.
Sure. I appreciate that in a small district like ours, there's a pathway for those students that do want to go further. Thank you.
Yeah. Any additional questions?
Okay, I have to say thank you to Dave and our math department. I have a son, I'm speaking as a father, I have a son who's at Gonzaga, and he said calculus at Gonzaga was easier than it was here. So he was prepared, so I appreciate that. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Maddie Pinkerton, and Maddie Pinkerton is our department chair for science. She teaches it all too. She teaches biology, AP biology, physics, and environmental science, which is what she's going to talk about tonight. So let's give it up for Maddie.
So last semester was our first environmental science class, and I was really happy with how it went. I think everybody had a lot of fun and learned a lot. And then we will be doing it this spring as well. So just to give us sort of an overview here, it's divided into 7 units. So we have a very short unit in the beginning that we just look at local environmental issues, and students can kind of pick out some areas of interest that they might want to cover as we go through the semester. So they are actually giving input into what the rest of the semester will look like. We talk a little bit about matter and energy, and then we launch into the 5 spheres model of environmental science. So we have the biosphere, hydrosphere, geosphere, atmosphere, and then the anthrosphere. And this one is our final project, which you'll see in the 3 slides. So I don't know who's on the slides. Okay. So just some examples of topics that we covered that were local or regional would be salmon as a keystone species here in the Northwest. We talked about the irrigation policy and specifically the Odessa Aquifer and the Columbia River Basin. We talked about PFAS contamination on Whidbey Island. And then we also talked about what does a sustainable cell phone industry look like, which was a really interesting conversation. This is a science class, so we also have lab science attached. So some examples of labs or activities we did would be the carbon sequestration lab, the population dynamics lab, and a soil quality lab. And something that I think is really cool that we are working on as a science department is we really want to give students, we want them to feel empowered to be able to carry out scientific investigations, because so often students come to science and they sort of have this, sometimes the same attitude they have about math, which is I'm not a scientist or I'm not good at science. And so the nice thing about these labs is that actually all 3 of these labs, not all of them, but they are written from start to finish by the students. So the students decide within reason, within the topic, what is a scientific question? What materials do I need to investigate it? What's my procedure? And sometimes if the procedure doesn't work, then maybe we have to do it again, and that's okay. So, and then the last one here is not a lab, but we did a Socratic seminar on the IPCC report. And that was an amazing conversation. And it was a week long of research, discussion, and then culminated in a final Socratic seminar. So, and there's one last slide. And then I just also wanted to highlight our final project because I thought it was a really amazing experience for our students. So they got to choose a topic within the anthrosphere, or how humans affect the environment. And we had 2 days of poster sessions for other students, middle school and high school. So A little math, I estimated about 140 kids that were not environmental science students came through for this poster session. So not only did our environmental science kids get to look at something they wanted to look at, but we also were able to reach so many other students in our school, which was wonderful. And they came up with creative topics that I never would have come up with in a million years. So these are just for examples. How can fungi transform our world? The sustainability of in vitro meat. That was very interesting and enlightening for me. Sustainable agricultural practices. And then another really interesting one was the impact of authoritarian regimes on the environment. And there were so many more. I tried to think of them: algae power, the intersection of animal welfare and the environment. There was one that was about, it was sort of morbid, but it was about how do we sustainably have burial practices, which was something I just had not looked into. So it was really a wonderful experience for them. So yeah. Questions?
I'd like to ask the same question of our board reps, of our student board reps that I asked about the ethnic studies class, which was that since this class was, instantiated based on student demand, is it meeting the demand? Is it what the students were asking for? Like, has it been implemented in a way that the students were envisioning when they kind of brought this from the ground up?
I would say absolutely. I've heard amazing things about the environmental science class, even coming from students who aren't in the class, but were able to witness the final project and being able to listen in on those presentations. I also think the amount of student involvement is fantastic, especially since this course was pushed by students. And now a lot of the curriculum is also being pushed by students and chosen by students. I think is a really great reflection of that.
I completely agree. And we haven't had the opportunity to take the class yet, but I'm hoping next year we'll be able to. But I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it. And I know some of my friends that have it next semester are really looking forward to it. And I really enjoyed going in and watching the final projects last year, looking at all the posters and all the different projects that students chose.
Thank you. And thank you, Maddie.
So real quickly too, is just kind of with environmental science, remember it's a new class and we talked about it when it was adopted by the board, is that also as this program builds, like any subject areas, we're hoping to have an AP environmental science component too. So as it builds, that's something we're looking at and we're hoping for in the future too. And I have to brag on Maddie real quickly, is this summer, she worked at Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, and she was actually teaching other teachers, high school teachers. So I just want you to know the quality person we have here. So thank you again. And one more thing is our 3 staff members need to go home and correct papers. So can we please excuse them? Thank you.
Thank you to all 3 of you. It's wonderful to see inside the classrooms a little bit. Thank you very much.
Going to invite Lori Johnson up to talk with us about the CARES Coalition.
I'm Lori Johnson, in case those of you who are on screen and don't know me. I'm the coalition coordinator for the South Bay CARES Coalition, and that stands for Community Advancing Resilience, Education, and Support. We have a brand new logo, so you'll start to see some happy people instead of a heart with the island silhouette in it. So we're excited to launch that. We have the drug take back coming up this Saturday, and this happens twice a year, once in April and once in October. And this is where people can bring unused medications for proper disposal, and we send it off to the DEA and it gets incinerated. So we'll be there with law enforcement. We have some exciting news for this year. We've expanded and invited some community members to join us. Next slide. So we're doing a safety and wellness fair. And Several community partners have come together and made it almost like a mini Children's Day. So we'll have several different people coming, and they will also offer some sort of community-minded activity. We'll have face painting and I think pumpkin decorating and cider and some things. So we're encouraging families to bring costumes if they would like, and there will also be like candy alternatives. Next slide. These are the partners that are going to be with us. Bloodworks Northwest, they will not be doing a blood drive, but they will be letting people know how to donate blood and how to find them. I support the Girls, which is an organization that collects feminine products and toiletries for women or those needing those services. PFLAG, which is Parents and Families of Lesbian and Gays. And I think that's a terrible acronym, but it's a support for the LGBTQ community. And we're super excited that they're bringing 3 people down to share some things with us. We partner with the Langley Police Department. We met with Chief Wasser yesterday at our coalition meeting, and it was very delightful. Toddler Learning Center. They'll be joining us with parent to parent. It's one of the really cool things about this is there's people who work for the same organization, who work for the county, who serve our population or our community, and they never actually talk to each other. They don't work in the same office. They're just doing their jobs. And so I've partnered these people in 10 by 10 tents for 4 hours. So that'll be fun. So we'll have pumpkin decorating, face painting, a sensory table, coloring contests, beanbag toss, and a bunch of other things. We will have the Island County Public Health, as well as Island County Human Services. And did I forget anybody? Oh yes, and Readiness to Learn. Sorry. Readiness to Learn, I don't think of you as a presenter because we are a collaborator. We're partners in this, and so we've organized this together. What else? Maybe the next slide. Oh, very important. We have our community survey, and this is required by the Healthcare Authority for all Community Prevention and Wellness Initiative recipients. And basically, it's the community's version of the Healthy Youth Survey. So we can look at that data alongside what students are saying they're experiencing, along with what the community's seeing students experience risky or healthy behaviors. And so then we can kind of take a look at that and determine whether or not there's a gap in perception and whether or not there's some room to shift that gap through community norms. So you have until November 1st to fill out the survey. Please share. We need 180 surveys in order to meet our quota. We've never not made it. So, but it was a lot of late nights on Facebook for me. So please share. Tell a friend. I think that's it for that one. We have an upcoming course. We partnered with Readiness to Learn to be able to provide guiding good choices. This is a workshop for 6 weeks. We kind of missed that on the flyer. 2 hours for 6 weeks, learning about how important it is to have community or to have conversations with your kids before it gets to a place where they're ready to sort of launch themselves and are more interested in risky behaviors. It also goes into the basics of prevention and risk and protective factors. So even if you aren't necessarily a parent of that age group, 9 to 14, it's a really great opportunity to learn about the basics of prevention. So deadline for enrollment, Monday. Yeah, Monday. So I think it's on our Facebook page, it's on the website, it's Christie's pushed it out. Drew's list, it's all over the place. So if you know someone who has a child who's 9 to 14 and really wants a strength-based program, it's a great opportunity. It's Red Ribbon Week, and the middle school has done an excellent job. Cindy Edlund, who's our student assistance professional, along with Lindsay Grimm and possibly others that I'm unaware of, have organized activities at lunch for students and have given out red ribbons. If you're not familiar with the Red Ribbon Week or this campaign, it's basically a week acknowledging a former DEA agent who was brutally murdered and it's like in his honor. So there's some great videos online. This year is Celebrate Life, Live Drug Free. And we've asked students in advisory classes to either create or find an image that, or maybe some written word that represents Celebrate Life for them. And then the advisory classes will choose one to represent them. And then we will find a way to display them. Next slide. So this is us. We're here to help build and sustain a healthy South Whidbey community in a variety of ways, mostly through prevention and education support efforts. So this is how to get a hold of us. And check out our Facebook page, which didn't make it on this slide, but it's SW Cares Coalition. Any questions?
Lori?
Yeah.
Can you just briefly talk about the way we fund this program and the grant?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So try to think of the easiest, shortest version. So the Healthcare Authority acknowledged that there was communities that had greater need, whether it was usage, demographics. There's a whole lot of information that went into determining what communities would be eligible for the Community Prevention and Wellness Initiative. And so we were 6 years into the grant, which is pretty good news for us. That means like we weren't, like at the front of the line. And so every year, every 2 years, they're able to offer funding to individual communities to build community networks to basically strengthen resilience in youth away from substance use. And so each year we get contracted, not always on time, to organize a coalition of people to do good work in our community. I'm not sure what else.
Well, and Lori's been doing this great work for us in organizing this coalition. So thank you, Lori, so much for all of that. It's
sure.
And it also helps support the position you mentioned, which is the mental health provider, and Cindy does that work. She's actually a alcohol and substance abuse counselor. Are you helping me out, Kayla? No?
No, but I'll give kudos to Cindy and the work she
Okay.
does day
Yeah.
to day. She's
Yeah.
super impactful on the middle school and high school's culture and understanding. Red Ribbon Week has been really awesome, and today was really fun. I'll send pictures to Lori and she can highlight them through their program. So
Yeah, so it's a cooperative effort. The district also helps fund part of it, and we work with the ESD 189, and they hire the person, and that person is here, and Lori is our wonderful employee who does this work on behalf of the district. So it's a community effort. So thank you, Lori.
Thank you. thank you to all of our presenters. It's always wonderful for us to hear straight from the horse's mouth as it is about what's going on in the community and in the schools. So thank you all for bringing that along. We'll move on to public comment at this point. We have 7 folks online. If any of you online would like to make a comment, please put in your name and location in the Q&A tool and then start typing the comment you'd like read. If anyone here would like to speak, please talk to Mrs. Macaro in the back. As a reminder, this is for public comment only. It's not a question and answer or a discussion. It's just for you to share information or opinion or thoughts with us. Thank you. Ms. Macaro, is there anyone signed up? No one signed up. We'll give it about a minute to see if anyone types in from online, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, I knew I wasn't going to make it the full minute because dead air is forever, but it doesn't look like anyone's typing anything in. So we'll move on to new business. We have one new business item, which is Memorandum 2223-02, approval of the 2022-2023 school improvement plans. Is there any discussion or comment to be made on this?
I would just like to share how much I appreciated what we saw at our last meeting and the amazing work that's being done in each of our schools by the administration and the staff and the teachers and the students in helping to design the best possible education. I think the recommendations that are being implemented and that will continue to be implemented are just extraordinary, and I'm really pleased to see the progress that's being made.
+1. And I will also add that I liked seeing how, although each plan was distinct and appropriate for the grade level, they all rolled up into the district goals. So it's great to see a leadership team that's so aligned on a mission like that.
Well, they both took mine. So I will add that just the laser focus on students and student wellness, emotionally and physically, was really powerful. And that really, you know, that resonated with me as I was thinking about it through this week. So thank you for, you know, just really creating that light, that guide for not only how schools themselves are going to operate, but how kids operate and are welcomed within those schools. So thank you.
I was unfortunate to miss the workshop where we worked on the school improvement plans, but it's really great to see how the different goals are broken up into different sections. You can really see the specific areas that we're working on. And also just like the entire presentation as a whole is very well organized, I have to say.
I agree with all of the whats that everyone just said. I also want to give a shout out to the how and the who, the administrators and staffers who spent so many long hours putting these together. The effort shows. I've been seeing these for 3 years now, and each year they started out good and they've been getting better and better and better each year, which is amazing when they start out good. So thank you very much for the effort that you and your staffs have put in. Back at the back of the room there are the administrators.
They know how much I appreciate them. They're the best team.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor of approving Memorandum 2223-02, approval of the 2022-2023 school improvement plans, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has been approved. Thank you. That is our one item of new business. Oh, I apologize. As I said, it's been a long day. Would you like to chime in for the record on your thoughts on this memorandum, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And now I think everyone is really ready to say aye. I'm terribly sorry about that. Now we'll move on to the reports, financial and enrollment report. Mr. Pullman.
Yeah, good evening. Okay, this is our first financial report for the new fiscal year of 22-23. So it's as of September 30th. We'll start with the enrollment. This is our second enrollment report. We have September enrollment and this is the October. And you can see the breakdown. The top is the basic education program. The bottom is our ALE program. So in the basic ed, we went from roughly 1,072 kids to about 1,079. So an increase of about 7 kids from the prior month. And the ALE went from 73 to about 72, dropped about 1. So a net of about 6 students for October. Last month, we looked at what we would think we would look at based on our 5-year pattern, which is that dotted black line. And then the 3 previous years are above that. And you can see that we are just about on that dotted line at 1,051 roughly for the month of October. So not the same type of increase that we saw last year, but very similar to previous year patterns. And if we look at the enrollment, you can see we were at 1145, we went to about 1151. So we did gain a little bit, but again, not as much as we had in the previous year. Also gives you comparisons to the 2 prior years. So you can kind of see what our enrollment looks like. And if you have questions, just stop and I'd be glad to answer them for you. So we are in the first month, that's 8.33% of a full year out of a 12-month year. Our revenues at 7%, which is below the 8%, not a concern. Our federal money is normally not claimed in September. We pay expenditures in September, claim those in October. So we're always behind with our federal dollars. There's grants that aren't set up yet and all those things that happen. On our expenditures, we're about 8.3%, so very similar to where we would be, 1,869,000 roughly. The bottom 2 are on the left is the revenue, on the right is the expenditures. You can barely see the salmon little dot on the September, but it's very similar to the last 2 years. So you're not seeing a rise in revenue, but a very similar pattern. And we've talked about that before based on regionalization, enrollment, et cetera. And the expenditures are very similar to last year at the September, just slightly above where it was in the previous year. Most of the expenditures for September are going to be salary and benefits. There's a little bit for supplies and services, but a lot of it is that first initial setup. And you can see how those compare to previous years. Our certificated salaries are down a little bit from last year, classified salaries up a little bit, benefits are up, and supplies and services are similar or a little bit less than they were. If we include the encumbrances, which is those things that we know that we've ordered or have contracts for, you'll see that our non-employee costs on the far left, the MSOX is about 38%. Our payroll's at about 95.24%, and totally we're about 86% of budget. So it gives you an idea of where we are currently. Fund balance, we have fund balance about 22%. Artificially high because of the $664,000 we received in May, which we will expend in the coming year. So it did cause our fund balance to be higher than we had anticipated it would have been at the end of the year. But still, if you look at the pattern for last year, you see how we kind of spent down fund balance. If we exclude that $664,000, we would have reduced fund balance by about $500,000. We also plan on reducing it again this year as we know that our expenditures are greater than our revenue in the budget process. Budget status, this is the revenue and expenditures year to date, and year to date is going to be the same as the month because it's the first month of the year. But you can see the revenue is about 1.5 million, expenditures almost 1.9, which brought our fund balance down from about 5.3 million to about 4.9 million. So fully expected to be there. Balance sheet, same way we can look at assets and liabilities. We still come up with the same fund balance, $4.9 million. Also gives us fund balances for the other funds that we do have. Now, capital projects currently has about $1.9 million in there. Debt service, $920.21. We have no activity in there until December, and it's a transfer from capital projects. ASB, you can see that fund balance is rising. It's about $1,506. Transportation Vehicle Fund, which is for the purpose of the yellow school buses, $150,000. So we have some revenue in there to go with the grant we're receiving. And then the Private Purpose Trust Fund, which stays at about the same because we only spend the interest and not the principal. Did want you to know that we have finished the F-196, which is our end of year financial statement. And if I can work, I will have it posted to our website within the next couple of days, but it's an 81-page document that looks at our revenue, our expenditures, assets, liabilities by all funds. And it's this type of a format which is OSPI's format. It's been reviewed by the ESD. It's been approved there. It's now going to OSPI. It will be unaudited until the first part of the year when the state auditors come in and look at the documents. And this is one of the documents they do audit for us, but it'll give us that. And you can see that if you look at this, you'll see that the fund balance for, say, general fund, $5,299,435 matches that starting fund balance in my monthly financial statements that you will see in there. So it gives you across all funds where we are, what we did in the previous year, revenue, expenditures, and all the different type of programs, whether it's program 1 basic education or 21 special education or whatever program it is. So it gives you a lot of detail. And again, it will be posted in a couple of days. Maybe I can get out of this. So any questions? Yeah, it was, yeah, I had to get out of there somehow. Yeah. I'm done.
Looks like we're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Moshe. Oh, no, is it yours or the students next?
I think it might be.
It is student board members report.
I think it might be their moment.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
So it's been a kind of hectic month for, I think, most of the schools. In high school, fall sports have been finishing up their fall seasons. I know some of them are over, like tennis finished districts, cross-country districts are this weekend, and all of them are kind of wrapping up their seasons. And winter sports are kind of starting to get into the talks, and meetings about those are happening. We had some PSAT and SAT testing these last weeks, which has been kind of stressful, but it's good to get that over with. Last week, we also had homecoming in the high school. So we had lots of fun activities and assemblies throughout the entire week. And it was a great time. Unfortunately, some of the activities did get canceled due to the smoke being very smoky. But hopefully we can make up some of those soon. We had some Colombian exchange students 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and they did an assembly, which was a really cool experience, having them in our classes and come talking to us. And today we had Audrey Merrick. You want to talk about it?
Sure. I'm going to try really hard not to cry. But today I had the opportunity to introduce the Vice President of the United States at a clean school bus program in Seattle on behalf of our district. We were lucky to win one of the electric buses through the Clean School Bus program that was through the bipartisan infrastructure law. We found this out, I think it was last Friday. And then today, members of the board and members of United Student Leaders and other students in the district went down to Seattle. I'm sorry. It's really emotional. I'm in like a state of shock. But we got to meet with Governor Inslee, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Regan, Vice President Kamala Harris,
Patty Murray.
Yes, Senator Patty Murray, and the mayor of Seattle as well. And it's just, I can't even put anything into words.
So let
right
me put some words together for you, Audrey. So our Audrey Merrick actually was the star of the show. Um, hang on a sec. So what Audrey got to do as I got her, swept her into the security line there, and she got to go back and actually meet with these folks on her own. And they apparently treated her very, very well. And you can see that upper left picture there. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. But the thing that made all of us realize how proud we should all be of Audrey is when she came out and she was the only student to give a speech. I mean, it was all the muckety mucks. It started with the mayor, then it was Patty Murray, then it was the governor, or whatever order, then it was the administrator, and then everything stopped. And that we waited and waited, and then Audrey came out and gave a 2-minute speech that you should watch. It's actually on YouTube under the whitehouse.gov. And she did a beautiful job advocating for not only our district, for the environment, but for women. And she is amazing. And then the vice president came out, and it was quite the day. We started with going to Starbucks at the headquarters, which was an experience in itself. Because they don't have any Starbucks food or drink that you have at any other Starbucks. So nobody knew what to order. We were in 2 black SUVs from the district, so we felt like we were part of the entourage with the vice president. And then we all got to enjoy lunch in the International District. So Audrey, you were amazing. You represented. We had 6 students there all together, and they were quite the crew. You can see here on the upper right, they're with the EPA Administrator Regan. So we had 6 students with us. There's Audrey with Patty Murray, and then there's the governor with our students. So it really was a very, very amazing day, and you did. I'm surprised you held it together this long, because we heard about it on Friday and we couldn't speak about it. It was embargoed. And so the administrative team barely knew. The only person really who knew was John, because I kept calling kids down. And so that's why I wanted you to stay, because it's really an amazing thing that we not only got this electric bus, thanks to Dan applying for it. We brought JJ with us, and JJ is responsible for applying for with the city, folks in the city of Langley for the solar panels that are going to go on top of the elementary school. So we're walking the talk, aren't we?
And I just want to thank members of USL and other students in our district, such as Jackson Murphy and Tori Green, who have put a tremendous amount of effort into pushing for climate change action, not only in our community, but in the greater Washington state and on a federal level. And I just want to commend them for the immense amount of work they've put into this. I hope I can have a more structured report, hopefully, at the next meeting.
You're doing fine. The passion is obvious, and you did great today. And so members of the board were there. As I said, Dan was there, JJ, we're still wearing our suits, right? We had to dress in business attire, which I think was the most challenging part of the whole thing. And go through security and get our background check done. And Audrey had to take 2 COVID tests, not 1, because she was face to face with the vice president. So all in all, it was a very emotional, very long, very exciting day. So I captured for you, Audrey.
Pretty much.
And I'm pretty certain that Audrey got the biggest applause. And she certainly got the crowd around where I was standing buzzing, and people asking to talk to her, and news organizations coming up. Check all the local news organizations on their website. You'll see interviews with her. You smashed it. It was amazing.
Also, get ready for our electric bus. We all went inside them, and I have to say, they're pretty nice.
They're pretty nice. So Thank you. Get her autograph now because you'll have to pay for it later.
Real quick on Audrey's thing, during lunch, like right when it was happening, we were able to watch it, and then we watched it again in 2 of my other classes, and everyone was really excited about it. We're all very proud of you, Audrey.
Thanks.
And you went to cross country practice and you're still here at this board meeting tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't gone home yet. So
So for the 7th and 8th graders, they've been having tons of assemblies. They attended 2 of the high school assemblies, the homecoming one and the Columbian exchange student one. And the students that I talked to had really positive feedback about both. They liked the scream bucket. That I think that's always quite fun. And they're enjoying their fall sports. I know those seasons are also wrapping up, and they have a fall festival coming up as well as a creepy concert. And I believe both of those are this week that I know everyone's looking forward to. And then for the South Campus, I know they've been having assemblies also and just having lots of school spirit and everything as well.
Thank you both very much. Superintendent's report, Dr. Moshe.
I'm just going to ride Audrey's coattails. So that was my opening slide. This was my slide to tell you all about our day, which you just heard about. And now I'm going to go into the next piece of information, which is I've been trying to show the board what the superintendent does by month. You saw October's, it barely changed except for the electric school bus event, which was a day. And then here's some things happening in November. We're going off to the WASDA conference. And there are some other activities that I'll be able to participate in. But I don't want to spend any more time on this. I really want to spend some time just talking about this for you with the board. So succession planning is something that I'm doing a lot of work around. And that's because it is not my intention to ask the board to extend my contract past the year 2025, which is the year it goes through at this time. My intention at this point, unless something happens, is to ride my contract out, doing very hard work, and retire when I'm 65 on June 30th, 2025. So with that being said, we need to start talking about what planning looks like. And I tell you that because this slide to me was very interesting. And that is the bottom across the horizontal axis, as we all know how to learned about math, right? Are the age ranges, and the vertical axis is the number of people in that age range who are employed by the district who are either certificated staff, meaning teachers, or administrative staff. So if you look in the column that says 57 to 62 over on the right, the largest column, it's very clear that our district will be going through some dynamic changes in the not too distant future. The 62 to 67, which there are a couple of administrators in that bracket. So you'll be seeing some leadership transition at your most senior leadership level. And so I am going to a conference in November that talks about succession planning. And the board, individual board members and I have talked about this quite a bit. It's my intention that I'm telling you now so that we can plan together, because I think the board needs to really set a backwards timeline for July 1, 2025, so that you can think about transitioning leadership. And I have to tell you that there's going to be another transition that is not my story to tell, but it's going to require work on my part to find a candidate. And so that will happen probably at the end of next year. And then the year after I leave, you may have another leadership change. So districts that are successful have very consistent leadership. And so if this board is pleased with the direction we're headed, pleased with the goals we're setting, and wants to continue with this trajectory, we need to work on that so that you don't have a blip. And I also think we have to be cognizant of the fact that you're going to see a lot of transition in this district at a variety of levels. We always knew that our staff was very veteran, and that our island has people who are veteran. This looks like our island demographic. So, not going to belabor it now, but I just wanted to put that out there publicly so that the board can start its planning process and we can talk about this openly. This is no surprise to many people, and it's 3 years away, actually, 2 years, 8 months and 5 days, but
But who's counting?
But in all seriousness, I'm happy to take any questions, but I have some thoughts on how we can do this, but it's really, that's why I keep telling you what the superintendent does. That's why I keep sort of really emphasizing seeing our buildings and getting to know what's happening so that you are very directly involved in helping the district stay on track.
I just want to acknowledge that while this isn't a surprise to me and I don't begrudge you the opportunity to retire, it is going to be a tremendous loss to our district. And I'm glad that we have another 2 years, 8 months, and 5 days to work together.
Yeah, thank you so much for your hard work so far. Yours will be difficult shoes to fill, and I'm glad now that the news is public. We can do the challenging work of finding someone of your caliber to replace you in 2 years, 8 months, and 5 days.
Virtually the same, and also want to know where the ticker, like the countdown, is going to go in your office, if that hasn't already been taken care of.
It's on my phone. There's a little
Perfect.
app.
As long as we're keeping count, so we can, continue to move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually thought about one more thing, which is this slide. I appreciate that in a moment where you could have just been centering yourself and your news, you're also thinking about the well-being of the entire district and our employees and the future of the district when this demographic ages out of the workforce. So I really, really appreciate that.
And we as students appreciate your work, even though a lot of times students don't really see what's happening behind the scenes, they feel it. And a lot of that is due to both you and the board. So we appreciate that.
I would just add that this feels a lot less like a goodbye 3 years in advance and a lot more like a hello to a process that will involve a lot of opportunity for rich collaboration, both with the board and community and also with our candidates as they come. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this in a really thoughtful and collaborative way.
Yes, thank you. What they all said. I would also like to note that you are, as of this year, the longest tenured Southwood East School
Yes.
District Superintendent.
Yes, we had the opportunity to see Art Jarvis today, who reminded me of that fact, because he was the longest. Now I am. So lest we not have ambiguity, a typical process for backwards planning would be, as we go into this year and then next year, the selection of some kind of a search firm, the engagement with the community, including your staff and students, about what are the qualities and qualifications that you would want in someone. You take months to do that. And then the need to decide whether you hire someone the day to start the day I leave, or you hire somebody who works with the superintendent to transition. Those are the big picture conversations that we put into the work of finding a superintendent. For the other positions, we will engage with our community as we always do for new hires, and hopefully find somebody who at least is an 8 out of 10, because we've got 10 out of 10 folks here. They're top-notch, high quality. And so attracting that to our district is what we've actually all been working on for the last several years. How do we make this district a place for people to want to come and work and stay? And with kids like this, it's a no-brainer.
I really want to say I'm appreciative of the time you're giving us to look for a new superintendent, because I think it's super important that we find the right fit for our district. I think that's especially coming from a rural district, right? It's definitely more of a search than, say, an urban district where people, I guess, have to find housing on the island as well. So thank you.
Anything else to report?
I am still here and will be here and working hard from now until I'm not here anymore. So this is really, as you said, it's not about me. It's really about putting the board into a position where it can plan. So that's it for me.
On the topic, I have a request for Board Chair Williford, which is that the board finds some way to work this into our workshops and or business meetings so that we can update the public and ourselves on the process.
Oh,
And yeah.
Absolutely. I think that it would be a fantastic idea to get a brief rundown very soon about the process, and then absolutely engaging the community at these meetings and elsewhere every step of the way. Yeah.
And it's my intention to keep you up to date on the succession planning in-house, because we've got work to do in order to make folks in-house expert in whatever it is that we have in terms of skill set for those of us who are leaving in the next 3 to 5 years.
All right. That's superintendent report. Board report. Marnie, did you want to start us off on that?
Yes, thank you. I would love to share some updates from several experiences that I was able to have recently as a representative of our board. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. What I'll be sharing is just some websites that share more about what I'll be talking about so that you can go and look for yourself if you'd like to learn more. On October 1st and September 30th, I was able to participate in Washington State School Directors Association, or WASDA's virtual General Assembly. It wasn't quite as gripping as our experience today with Vice President Kamala Harris, but it was important. It was an opportunity to vote on behalf of our district to help guide WASDA's permanent and legislative positions on issues related to the broad topics of learning, staff, capital facilities, and school construction, funding and allocation, and governance. Let's see, changing tabs, which is hard when Zoom has pictures over my tabs. There we go. The WASDA blog described it really well as a methodical march governed by Robert's Rules of Order through proposals submitted by school directors for updating WASDA's advocacy platform and supporting beliefs and values. So it's basically what you would expect. There were a couple of opportunities for deviation from the methodical march when, for instance, there was heated discussion that got extended by a voting delegate's request, and then even some opportunities for a revote, a recast of a vote after extended conversation. So the facilitators really did their very best to make sure that conversation was rich and that all perspectives were heard. Next steps. The ranking and prioritization of WASDA's positions will have taken place by electronic vote by members from October 4th through 12th. And WASDA's legislative priorities will be announced on November 1st. And then beginning that first week of November, those legislative priorities are shared with lawmakers. And then this winter, we'll be able to go down and advocate in person or virtually during the Days on the Hill to try and help get some of these positions passed into law. And then about a week later, from Friday, October 7th through Sunday, October 9th, I was able to participate in the convening. This conference, subtitled Reclaiming Education Through Liberation, was hosted by Technology Access Foundation at Seattle's Pacific Science Center. They told us to expect 3 days centered on reclaiming mindfulness, joy, and the power of intentional collective action. They promised a focus on sharing tools, practices, and policies to dismantle and uproot systems of oppression within education. And I personally felt that the programming exceeded expectations. It was their very first conference, TAF's first conference, and I think logistically they were working out some kinks. The acoustics were rough, where folks were going to be and whether they had a functioning microphone was rough, but the quality of the presentations, the quality of the experience was just extraordinary. My primary takeaway from many of the sessions was just about the importance of relationships between and among students, families, staff, administration, community members, board members, teachers. Every aspect of the conference really helped highlight the importance of these critical skills like vulnerability, self-reflection, the willingness to see and honor one another as whole humans, and to actively confront the behaviors and norms that uphold white supremacy culture. A lot of the presentations showed examples of the powerful outcomes that are possible when all learners are centered and affirmed. And for me, one highlight of the conference was a keynote presentation by Dr. Bettina Love. She's an author of We Want to Do More Than Survive, Abolitionist Teaching and the Pursuit of Educational Freedom. Also the author of Hip Hop's Little Sisters Speak, Negotiating Hip Hop Identities and Politics in the New South. She did a lot to talk about ways that schools can interrupt the school to prison pipeline and grow really empowered, grounded, healthy young people by supporting their successes and their holistic well-being and their academic success. So all in all, I'd say I enjoyed both experiences, and I'm going to be rushing to sign up for the next convening, and I'm going to be willing to sign up for the next General Assembly.
Thank you very much for sharing that information. Are there any other board reports? Okay, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.